This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. This is a bonus video following up from my last video that I've done. I didn't realize, but I missed something very important, solidifying and validating all the work that I have been doing these past 4 years. I want you guys to go back to a time at the beginning of the year in January where we were saturated with Harry and Meghan, from her frolicking on the beach to their disaster tourism. I mean, literally every single day, this couple had been in our faces, exhausting. And on January 14th or January 15th, does everybody remember when Harry and Meghan had to make a statement on Archewell website about Meta's decision to stop the so-called fact-checking? I definitely did talk about this post in this video. But if you go back in time on Google and search between January 14th to January 16th, look at what was trending in the headlines. There really wasn't much being said about Harry and Meghan admonishing Facebook for taking away these fact checkers. As you can see, it's pure garbage that's being shoved down our throats. But did anybody catch or see the article that was written in the Spectator on January 15th? Now, forgive me for not covering this article because I truly did not see it until today. And it was just by chance that I stumbled upon the article. What I want to say here is that this is a damaging headline, and no wonder Harry and Meghan were saturating the media with all kinds of bullshit. I don't think Harry wanted that type of attention with the new administration coming in. So, rightfully so, people in the United States didn't talk about it. All because it didn't register on anybody's radar. But it's registering on mine right now, and what we're going to do is we're going to read this article because they light this couple up in such a way, it validates everything that I have been telling each and every one of you. It piggybacks off nicely the video that I did before this talking about the Kids Online Safety Act. And in some cases, it does validate everything that I said in that video as well. So without further ado, let's get into this article. It begins. The British royals are coming after American free speech, just days before Donald Trump is set to take office as president for the second time. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle expressed outrage that Meta, owner of Facebook and Instagram, changed policy to rely on community notes versus a dedicated fact-checking department. Ironically, the pair suggested Meta's policy change directly undermines free speech. How exactly? Because according to Harry and Meghan, Mark Zuckerberg is allegedly prioritizing those using social media to spread hate, lies, and division. What's more, the pair suggests Meta's decision is based on American politics, which should never determine whether freedom of expression and civil and human rights are protected in the online spaces so clearly shaping or destroying democracy. So much for the War of Independence. Trump campaigned on a promise to make America great again. The former president and now president-elect has made a name for himself with his uber-patriotism, some would say nationalism, and going against more European-style policies on everything from high tax rates to net zero environmental and energy standards to immigration rules. In his first term, he battled European leaders on an array of policy matters, including NATO contributions and many European nations' tendency to rely on the U.S. for their security needs instead of standing up their own national defenses. So why would congressional leaders about to find themselves operating under a second Trump administration think that the incoming commander-in-chief would likely support efforts to adopt a decidedly European approach to regulating big tech? The Kids Online Safety Act, KOSA, has been hanging around Congress since 2022. Its biggest champions are Senators Richard Blumenthal and Marsha Blackburn, but outgoing President Joe Biden also supports the bill. House Speaker Mike Johnson said it's more important to get this issue right, invoking free speech rights. The bill also apparently has the support of Elon Musk. Odd, because the bill is based on the Center for Countering Digital Hate's STAR policy framework. Musk notoriously sued CCDH over its attacks on Twitter earlier last year. He clearly views CCDH as a bad actor. Yet CCDH is a big booster of KOSA, most likely because the bill aligns nicely with CCDH's objectives and methodology. CCDH may not care that X likely wouldn't be KOSA compliant as the bill is written, but Musk and other MAGA folks should. And Trump perhaps should most of all. He has leapt to the defense of TikTok on the basis that Americans who supported him in November's election are heavy users of it. Goodness knows many of them are also heavy users of X. Musk has been a defender of freer speech, even as he may have misjudged this legislation and its potential negative effect on his platform. Well, I think fast forward 8 months later, I think he's going to have a change of heart. That's just my opinion. Just last month, he denounced police in England for investigating a 64-year-old journalist over a year-old tweet. What he may have missed, police were able to launch that investigation due to the UK's Online Safety Act law. That law happens to share foundations and key principles with KOSA. Harry is at the forefront of pushing for the U.S. to adopt more UK-style approaches to internet regulations, such as KOSA. The Duke of Sussex teamed up with the Aspen Institute on pro-KOSA publications. Oh, really? This included a series of recommendations through the provocatively named Commission on Information Disorder. Among the suggestions were a comprehensive strategic approach to countering disinformation and the spread of misinformation, including a centralized national response strategy. This strategy would hold super spreaders of mis and disinformation accountable with nimble actions and penalties, regardless of location or political views or role in society. The recommendations were released in late 2021 as the coronavirus pandemic slowly eased. Other Brits actively supporting KOSA include Baroness Bevan Kidron. I'm going to pause for a second. Many of you know who Baroness Bevan Kidron, because I did a video on her. She is the head of Five Rights Foundation, who has been meddling on a state level to push regulation for children here to control information. I honestly think that Congress needs to do something about foreigners interfering with our legislation branch. Just my opinion. Kidron, once called an important architect of age-appropriate design code laws in several states, is a member of the UK House of Lords. She is tight with Blumenthal and Blackburn on KOSA. Blackburn posted photos of the two after a meeting. Kidron once claimed she tells people, "Yeah, you should," when she's asked why American children don't have the same protections as the UK. Why KOSA would play with a president like Trump or his apparent new best friend Musk may be baffling on a pure U.S. values versus British or European values level. But it's worth noting there are real practical reasons why the bill should fly with neither of them, nor the majority of senators who seem to have lined up to support KOSA so far. For example, KOSA lays the foundation for user age verification by social media companies. That could easily mean huge threats to kids' and parents' privacy, including by identity theft, where cybersecurity measures fail. The bill text directs the Commerce Department to work with the Federal Communications Commission and the Federal Trade Commission on the most technologically feasible methods to come up with age verification system. As Shoshana Weissman of the R Street Institute noted, age verification will require parents to upload a combination of social security numbers plus government IDs. Over the summer, it was revealed the company X and TikTok used to verify identities AU10 ticks left personal data exposed for over a year. Yael Ozowski, deputy director of the consumer choice center called KOSA, a one-way road to digital censorship. This bill is constitutionally dubious and would create new powers that should frighten not only every parent, but also every user of digital platforms such as social media. He added the rules would significantly degrade user experience and put sensitive personal information at risk. That's not going to go over well with privacy advocates, and it is another reason why Musk should rethink his support for the bill. Social conservatives who helped Trump return to the White House don't like the bill. Former Senator Rick Santorum warned KOSA will facilitate digital censorship of conservative views on cultural issues. He's particularly worried about the duty of care provision in KOSA that requires platforms to exercise reasonable care to prevent and mitigate harms to minors, including depression, anxiety, or the nebulously defined online harassment that impacts major life activity of a minor. This could explain Johnson and House Majority Leader Steve Scalise's skepticism on KOSA. Both support protecting kids online, but not necessarily through KOSA, which includes LGBTQ+ and abortion's protections. That is crossways with the more socially liberal Trump and Musk, despite the latter's feud with his trans daughter. The GOP base is more aligned to Johnson and Scalise than Trump. It is, however, a reminder that America is not Europe. Yet this bill seeks to import a bunch of European and British-style ideas and principles. The bottom line, KOSA would expose American citizens and the social media platforms they use to European-style rules that may be many things, but making America great again. Again, it's not. Making America Britain or Europe again seems more likely. As I said in my last video, they are using now the MAGA base and Charlie Kirk's death to really go in on driving this legislation around social media. I'd like to ask my viewers, since Trump got into office, have you seen the focus now on the kids intensifying so much? The left cares so much about the kids and wanting to keep them safe. And what we're seeing is a lot of propaganda around teens and young adults committing suicide, anxiety, mental health this, mental health that. And then we're also seeing this radicalization. I personally think that the dark forces that are in the background wanting to get control of information online are purposely putting out these kinds of stories, are trying to amp up and make people see certain cases, right? Certain cases that focus on kids unaliving themselves and, making a mountain out of a molehill in order to drive this regulation home. Because it's really the left side now that we see in the media positioning this. And, I did talk a little bit about that in my last video. I highly encourage you guys, if you haven't seen it, please go back and look at it, because I do talk about what Harry and Meghan are doing now and getting this bill pushed along. And it does concern me. It does concern me that they are seizing on the opportunity of Charlie Kirk's death in order to make it seem like, yeah, we really do. And now we should have MAGA on board because look what happened to Charlie Kirk. And I think that's exactly what they're doing. And the fact that this Beban Kidron, who is the head of Five Rights in the UK, partnership that Harry and Meghan have and is close to the royal family, doing this in the United States really does rub me the wrong way. And I don't understand why we are allowing this. If we lived in a perfect world and these governments weren't so rotted to the core and were actually honest and trying to do right for the people, then yeah, all in on protecting children if they say they're going to do what they say they're going to do. When you look at that online safety bill, how many people have been arrested under that bill for hurting children? Just, throw a number out there. I don't think I can recall any case that significantly jumps out at me saying that they used the bill to go after the so-called pedophiles and the so-called groomers, even though Keir Starmer wants us to believe that they are going after people for that. Instead, they are targeting people for political speech. My fear is we go back to where we were in 2021 under the Biden regime, and we had people who were malicious against us. You see, this is where I do not trust anything that Harry and Meghan are touching, because look what they did to us. And that's why I talk about this relentlessly, because they want us to forget about it. They want us all now to think that they are so kind and compassionate and want to show up and do good and forget about all the harm that they have caused people online. No, I am not going to let this go, and I will be that thorn in your side, Harry and Meghan, because what you did to us can never happen again. Yeah, I'd like to think that in this moment, when Donald Trump was giving his speech at the state banquet, he really was giving it to King Charles. And I think in some way there had been words, because look at what happened the following day. They signed that tech deal with 12 new reactors or nuclear reactors that were going to be built for energy. And you know how Charles feels about the environment, and his sustainable markets initiative all went out the door. And here's Trump pretty much giving it to him in this one moment. Take a look at Marco Rubio's face looking at Charles. Take a look at Trump looking at Charles. And take a look at Charles.
And we are, as a country, as you know, doing unbelievably well.
And we are, as a country, as you know, doing...
This is it right here. Trump and Rubio know about what Harry had been involved with the Biden regime. Believe me on this one.
Unbelievably well.
We had a very sick country 1 year ago, and today, I believe we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. In fact, nobody's even questioning it, but we owe so much of that to you.
Now, the way that I interpret that, with Trump saying a year ago we were a very sick country, but now we have come back and we're like the hottest thing ever, and we have Charles or the UK to thank for that. I take that as the UK and its broken reset Agenda 2030 failed, because we were on the path to destruction, along with his son being over here and meddling in things that he shouldn't have been meddling with, all attributed to the UK. Let's not forget the Steele dossier. Let's not forget the UK meddling in the 2024 election. Like, I can't think what the royal family has done to get this country back on the right side of things. I mean, we've shut down illegal immigration. I believe the UK still has that going on. We still have, for now, free speech. We're not abiding by the bullshit green scam that they're trying to force over in the UK and the Agenda 2030 SDG goals. So I'm not really sure what it is that we have Charles and the royal family to thank for. You know, the only thing that I can see here is that it's our history that makes this so important. That's the bond that we have. But the state that we were in last year and the state that we are in now, I don't think the UK had influence on that. In fact, during the Biden regime, the UK had a terrible influence on America. And I think that Charles is seeing that right in this moment.
We had a very sick country 1 year ago, and today, I believe we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. In fact, nobody's even questioning it, but we owe so much of that to you and the footing that you gave us when we started. Together, we've done more good for humanity than any two countries in all of history.
I really do hope that things are happening behind the scenes. I truly don't think Trump is going to embarrass the royal family on a global stage with Harry. I believe that what's going to play out here is we're going to see the PR spin of Harry going back home because he misses it so much. But I think Harry's going to go back quietly. Not because he wants to, because the United States is telling him he has to go. And I honestly do believe that is going to happen. But we'll just have to wait and see. In the meantime, we need to make noise about the work that Archewell Fugazi Public Charity is doing quietly behind the scenes while these two continue with their bullshit in the media. So I'm glad I'm able to bring this to you. If you can, please take a look at the video that I did prior to this, because it will fill in a lot of gaps so you can see exactly the extent of what Harry and Meghan have been doing here under the radar. Anyhow, definitely let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Such a fraud.